Welcome to Introduction to Euchre, presented by Nicholas Vidmar and the New Linux Library. What is Euchre? Euchre is a social card game that is often played at gatherings in the Midwest and uses a team-based stratagem. You are divided into teams of two, and there are 4 players total, so 2 teams of 2. Your team is trying to take tricks, which are 1 card played by each player. There are 5 tricks in a hand. Euchre also uses a reduced deck. There are only 24 cards in the deck, which means it's less than half of a standard playing card deck. Euchre is especially popular in the Midwest and other local regions. It is known outside of that, but typically by different names, as the game is a variant on Pinochle, though somewhat simplified from that. Setup. Euchre has a distinct setup to be able to play. The first thing you need to know is the player position. Euchre, since it is played in teams of 2, has you facing your partner, and then perpendicular to you, your opponents. In a circular table, this would look like the dealer, which we'll say is you for now, the player to your left, who is your first opponent, to their left, your partner, and then to their left, the partner of your opponent, and then back to you. The deck setup for Euchre requires a little work. As I mentioned before, Euchre uses a 24-card deck. This deck is made up of 9s through kings and aces. So to set up the deck, you're going to take out all the cards of all 4 suits of 2 to 8s, and the jokers if your deck has them. Some players at in-person tables like to take out the 6 and the 4 from those cards and use them as scorecards. This is a fairly simple way to keep track. Furthermore, while dealing Euchre, it is traditional to deal in sets of 2 and 3, because each player ends up with 5 cards total. The reason that you do not deal singleton, as you do with most other card games, is that Euchre wants you to have bunches of cards. So you want to be dealt several hearts or several diamonds when you are dealt. Playing them in bunches does tend to increase those odds. It makes the game run smoother. The order in which you deal those 2s and 3s is up to the players. The traditional habit I have seen is that the first round everyone will be dealt 3 cards, and then 2 cards on the second round to equal your 5. Terms. Euchre has a special vocabulary that learning will help to increase the efficiency of play. There are quite a few terms, but the most important are as follows. Trick. A trick is a discrete round of play. It is comprised of each player playing 1 card from their hand. Tricks are used to determine who has scored in a round. The next important word is trump. The trump is the most powerful suit of the hand, and trump is decided before tricks are played. And it will change every hand, so it persists over 5 tricks. To call. To call is to set the trump suit. This also labels whoever called trump as the active player, the ones attempting to score. You can think of them as the aggressors and the other team that did not call as the defenders, and that does matter for how points are scored as well, according to which role you are in. To sweep. To sweep is to win all 5 tricks in a hand. To score, you only need to usually get 3 of those. Getting 5 is worth more. To be euchred or to be set is if the defending players claim 3 tricks instead of the active players. And this is worth more points than if just 3 tricks were claimed by the ones who called trump. Loner. As Euchre is a partner game, there is an option that if you have a supremely good hand, you can opt to have your partner sit out and play alone. If you succeed at getting a sweep on a loner, you get the most points in one go possible in Euchre. If you fail it, you only get 1 point, and if you are euchred, it's still the standard value. It's very rare to pull a loner off successfully. Renege. A renege is to play out of order or against suit, as Euchre requires that you follow suit when it is played. If you are caught on this, the innocent team will automatically be awarded 2 points and the round ends. This is not a standard part of play. Euchre is not a bluffing game. Doing this is firmly against the nature of the game, and so is harshly frowned upon. Order of play. The first step in Euchre, as in most card games, is to deal the cards out. This is assuming that you have already pulled together the appropriate 24 card deck. When you're dealing, the dealer deals to the left and deals in their 2 and 3 card pattern to ensure everyone has 5 cards. If this is done properly, there should be 4 cards left in the deck after everyone has their hand. The dealer will put this 4 card deck in the middle of the table and flip up the top card. This revealed card is the card that will help determine what trump is. Once everyone has their hand and a card has been flipped, the player to the dealer's left gets to decide if they want that flipped up card to be trump. In our example, we'll say that card is a queen of spades. So the player to the dealer's left is betting if he wants spades to be trump for the round. He will make this judgment by looking at his hand and thinking if with spades as trump, will he be able to collect 3 tricks with his partner's help? If he thinks so, he can order it up or to call it up, in which case the dealer will take the queen of spades and add it to their hand and then discard another card face down. If the dealer to the player's left opts to pass on this card and not want spades as trump, the choice moves to the dealer's partner, who has the same situation, either pass or call it up. If they call it, it goes to the dealer's hand. If they pass, it goes to the third player, and they have the same choice, and then it passes all the way around to the dealer, who, if they pass, the dealer will then flip that card down and move the deck off to the side, and then the choice moves to the player to the dealer's left. That player now has the option to pick any suit as trump except for the one that was just turned down. So he could pick hearts, diamonds, or clubs. If none of those appeal to him because he has a poor hand overall, he can pass yet again. The choice moves on to the dealer's partner, same story. To the third player, same story. If no one called trump, then the round ends and the dealer shifts to the player to the current dealer's left. If anyone calls trump in that round, we move into tricks. The player to the dealer's left starts, and they can lay down any card that they like from their hand. Doing so will set the suit for the trick. Everyone must follow that suit. So if they have, we'll say he lays down a 10 of hearts, and spades are trump in this case, then the dealer's partner, who is the next player in line, must play a heart if he has one in hand. If they do not, they can play anything they like, which can be a throw-off card that will not contribute to the round, because cards that do not follow suit, that are not trump, do not affect the trick. Or if they throw trump, trump will automatically beat any non-trump card, regardless of respectable power level. Then moves along until everyone has played their single card for the trick, and then the winner of the trick is determined. This is decided by who has the highest card in the round, and then that player collects the trick and then begins playing the next trick, so they can lay out again whatever card they like. Now this is different from many other card games in that play does not go around to the left. Whoever starts the round is whoever won the last. So play can be led by the same person over and over for an entire trick, or can bounce across the table, then back to the first player, then to the opponent's team, back to the first player over again. So it can be quite scattered. Trump. Trump is the most complicated aspect of Euchre and what takes most people the longest time to understand. To help you on your way, first thing you must understand is card hierarchy. Euchre operates in the ascending order from 9 to king, then ace is high. This is true for all 4 suits until trump is called. Once trump is called, one suit becomes higher than any other suit. The 9 of trump will beat the ace of any other non-trump suit, but then it follows the order of trump. The exception to this is the bower. The ascending order of trump goes 9, 10, queen, king, ace, left bower, right bower. The bowers are the jacks of the trump suit color. Let us say that diamonds are trump. So the jack of diamonds is the highest card of the round because diamonds are trump. The jack of hearts is the second highest card of the round. The jack of hearts is considered a diamond for the sake of this round with trump. So if someone were to lead a diamond, you would not play the jack of diamonds with it if you were following suit. Scoring. Once a hand has been completed and all the tricks taken and allotted, you can figure out who has scored what points in this round. If the team that called trump scored 3 or 4 tricks, they score 1 point. If they take all 5 tricks, they sweep and score 2 points. If someone decided to go alone, called trump, and succeeded in collecting a sweep, they score 4 points. If the opposing team got 3 tricks, that is a euchre or a set and earns them 2 points. And if anyone played out of order and not following suit, they reneged, and the opposing team to them receives 2 points. Additionally, the round ends and you start over. So you redeal the hand, same dealer, and begins again. Reneging, as I mentioned previously, is very much against the game. You are not supposed to bluff in euchre, but there is a penalty if you do it. To win at euchre, you need to accumulate 10 points. As such, you can be very variable in how long it takes to finish, because the game could, in theory, end in 3 rounds. 2 loners and a sweep or a set. It also could take up to 19 rounds if everyone alternates and only gets 3 parts of a trick each turn. Example of play. As what I have said so far may be a word salad to some of you, we will go through a rendering of an actual game so you can see how these concepts look in action. This should also help to clarify some things confusing like how trump is called and dealing hand size, other such things. Here's our first hand, and this tabletop shows a completed deal. We have our 4 players, and we'll be taking on the role of squirrel at the bottom of the screen. We also have blue, pink, and yellow. Pink is squirrel's partner in this. So squirrel has dealt out the 5 cards to all the players in his set of 3 and then 2. He then took the 4-card deck remaining and flipped up the top card, which in this instance is the ace of clubs. The trick is ready now to be decided, and play will move to blue to start that choice. With trump in question, play has moved to blue. Blue will look at his hand and consider, does he want the ace of clubs to decide trump as clubs? Looking through his hand, he does not think that between what he has and what yellow has, that he is likely to get 3 tricks required to win a hand. So he will choose to pass trump. The choice now goes to Pink. Pink considers the same. However, Pink knows that if he calls trump, that the card will go to Squirrel's hand. So Squirrel have an ace of clubs, not a small trump to have. However, Pink, looking through his hand, doesn't think that even with that, he has enough to guarantee the 3 tricks. So Pink will pass finally to Yellow. Yellow, looking through her hand, does think that she has a decent chance of getting 3 tricks with an ace with clubs, though the ace of clubs going to Squirrel is a bit of a risk. But she's willing to try it, and so calls up trump, setting clubs as trump for the round. Now, Squirrel, as the dealer, has put that ace of clubs into his hand and discarded one of his offsuit cards, which was a 10 of hearts. That begins play now, and Blue, being to the left of the dealer, is the first player. So Blue takes a card from his hand, and a card he likes, and he chose to lead the ace of diamonds. A strong start, as everyone has to follow suit. So if anyone has a diamond in their hand, they must play it, and the ace is the highest card in that color unless someone has no diamonds and can then play trump. Moving along with the trick, we see that Pink apparently did not have a diamond, as Pink played a queen of clubs. As you recall, clubs is trump for the round, so that queen of clubs is currently winning the round and beating the ace of diamonds. With Pink's card down, it moves to Yellow. Yellow has unfortunately found that she has a diamond in hand, and so she must follow suit with her 9 of diamonds, which is not helping win the trick. Then, after her play, it moves to Squirrel, and Squirrel looks through his hand and sees that Pink has won the round. Neither Blue's card nor Yellow card is beating her queen, and no one will get to play after Squirrel, so Squirrel throws off his junk card, the Queen of Spades. It's not trump, and he did not have a diamond to follow suit. And that ends the round. Looking through, the highest card is in fact Pink's queen, so Pink takes this trick, and that's 1 trick for the defenders. With the trick decided, it is collected and placed next to the player who took it, in this case Pink. Since Pink won that last trick, he gets to set the next suit. Looking through Pink's hand, he opts that his best card to lead is the ace of spades. So he plays the ace of spades, and it is now left to the other players to see what they wish to play. After Pink has laid down his ace of spades, play moves to Yellow. Yellow does not have a spade in hand, and so is able to play trump. In this case, she lays down a king of clubs, taking the trick away from Pink. Play then moves to Squirrel, and Squirrel, looking through his hand, realizes that he was awarded the ace of clubs by the calling of trump, and so plays it, the club outpacing the king of clubs, and so now the trick belongs to Squirrel. Play finally moves to Blue. Blue, looking through his hand, unfortunately finds a spade, and so must follow suit according to the ace first laid down, and is unable to compete with the trump being played. As such, the trick is over, and the trick goes to Squirrel. So Squirrel has put the trick he just claimed with the rest of the deck to avoid confusion as to the number of tricks claimed, and that is to the left of Squirrel. But Squirrel has the lead now, and is going to play his Jack of Clubs, the highest card in the round. Play then moves to Blue, and Blue, since trump was led, must also play trump if he has some, so he plays the 10 of clubs. Slightly worrisome is when we get to Pink, and Pink reveals that he has no trump by throwing off and playing a 10 of hearts. Play then moves to Yellow, and Yellow, following suit, plays the Jack of Spades, which for this instance is a club, and is the second highest, falling to the Jack of Clubs, the highest of the round. As such, the trick goes to Squirrel. Now, normally, play would continue with the last two cards in everyone's hand for two more tricks. But in this case, the game has ended because the defenders, Squirrel and Pink, have received three tricks and have euchred Yellow and Blue. So, Pink and Squirrel have gained 2 points. From here, the deck would be reshuffled and dealt again in 5 cards. Trump will decide once more. It is also during the Trump stage. When Trump is called, the player that calls Trump has the opportunity to call as going alone. And another set of tricks would be played. This would continue on until one team has scored 10 points total. Playing online. In the current state of quarantine, many of us do not have the luxury of having 4 people to play Euchre together. As such, there are a few options to play through a virtual tabletop. The images that you have seen above, demonstrating the table, were all taken from an application called Kosmi. This allows you to play with 4 other people. It also allows you to have video chat with them. There are several other utilities that you could use to play Euchre, but we'll discuss the one that I have demonstrated so far. Kosmi allows you to play together with friends. It has several benefits in that it is free, it does not require sign up or other personal information, it has the built-in virtual tabletop for card games, it also has a tabletop for poker and several other applications. It also has a built-in audio-visual chat, so you can choose to simply type to the people you're playing with, actively talk to them, or be able to see them and have them see you, depending on what your personal preferences are. It adds to the social experience that Euchre is supposed to be. Create a room. This is the basic process to utilize Kosmi. To first find the site, you will look up Kosmi, KOSMI.io. This should take you to the page that we see in the upper left of our slide. On this screen, the most important bit is the Launch Now or Launch in the upper right. If you click on the upper right, it will take you to the next page, which is the upper right image on our screen. Here is the listing of all of the currently active public rooms. For the most part, this is not what you will want to use. You see that at the top of that is the Create a Room button. When you click on that, a menu looking like the bottom left image will pop up. Here, you will want to change your room preference from public to private. This way, you do not show up in that listing and will not have the chance of random people joining you. Then, you can select what application you wish to launch. In this case, we are using the virtual card table. Once you have that selected, you can choose to add a description if you like for your friends to know more about the room, but if not, you can just hit OK to create the room at the bottom of that option. Once you do, it should bring you to a screen that looks like the bottom right of our slide, where you can see the card table and your menu options on the upper right. Set up the table. Once you're into the virtual card table on Kosmi, you will have to modify it to suit Euchre. To do so, you will look on the upper right of your screen where you'll see your menu bar. In our left image, there's a zoomed in vision of it. You'll see several options there: the camera, the microphone, the crowd, the gear, the box, and the arrow. The one we want for this is the gear. That will bring up your settings. But to briefly go over the others. If you click on the camera, it will attempt to activate your camera and be able to show you to who you are in the room with. The microphone does the same thing with your microphone. If you click on the group or the crowd, it will show you who is in the room currently. If you click the gear, it opens settings. If you click the box, it will bring the tabletop to the full screen. And you'll also see on the upper left of the chat box a small arrow that if you click with will eliminate the chat bar. That gives you the biggest view of the card table if you're struggling to see. And lastly, there is the arrow, which will let you leave the room, and it will take you out of the chat. Below that, you see the currently active application, in this case, virtual card table. But once you have clicked on the gear, it should pop up the image that we see on the right, the table or room settings. It'll default you to the info tab of this, but for right now, we care about the option on the far right, card table settings. Once you click on that, it will bring up your current options of card size. I recommend playing with large or huge, at least for Euchre. When you're playing different games like Solitaire that have more things on the table, smaller sizes are more useful. You will also have to set your table size to 4. This will prompt a box asking you if you really want to set it to this, because it will reset the table. You'll hit OK. Beneath that, you'll see the options to add a deck or remove all decks. Click Remove All Decks to clear the standard 52 card deck that comes with the tabletop. Then you'll go to the left side of that and hit the drop-down menu to select the stripped 24 card deck. Once you have that selected in the black box, you'll hit Add Deck. For good measure, you can then hit Reshuffle Deck to give yourself a fresh start, and then exit out of the settings box in the upper right. And your tabletop should be set for Euchre to be played, as we saw in the example of play. Operating the table. Once we have your card table set up, it'll be helpful for you to know how to actually manipulate it. The first thing you will need to do is click on a spot or chair to sit down and join the game. Until you do this, you will not be able to move or manipulate cards on the tabletop. Once you've sat down, you can click and hold to drag a card from the deck onto the table or into your hand. If you double-click a card that is on the tabletop, it will flip it over. When it does this, every player connected to the room will be able to see that card. If you drag a card to your hand, it will flip only for you to see. To drag it to your hand, you have to move the card by clicking and holding to your icon, like what squirrel was in our example of play. When you do, you should see it turn slightly translucent, and when you release, it will add to your hand, and you will see that if you have any more than one card, they'll sit at an angle so you can see all of them as you would hold a real hand of cards. Lastly, if you click on hold on a card without moving the mouse, it will collect the nearby cards to make a stack. This stack can be moved as a single card by clicking and holding as well. You will see that when you do this, there is a shadow that appears behind the card in your icon's color. The darker the shade, it tells you the more cards are collected underneath it, so you get an idea of how many there are. You can also move the regular deck in this manner. It's possible to click and hold in your hand and to set aside your hand as a stack as well. But those are the basic tools to operate in the card table in Kosmi. I would recommend experimenting before you sit down to properly play, though, because it is a little bit of a learning curve. Still, it's not too terrible, and I hope these instructions have helped you. Enjoy Euchre!